Hi, and welcome to the Art Teams podcast. Today I want to talk about DALL. We've been working with our teachers and playing around with DALL. If you don't know what DALL is, it's one of the first products that OpenAI actually released to the public long before ChatGPT. And this is an app that can create any kind of art based on a prompt. The more specific the prompt is, the better usually the result is, although we've played with it and sometimes it just gives us lousy results. And this is an example. So when you go to DALL, this is my trial. I did Superman on an elephant fighting aliens in a cubist style. This is really one of my favorite things, is you can define a style and then it tries to create to that style. Sometimes if an artist has enough exemplars out there, you can actually name a specific artist. Often I like using more general. So that's just what it looks like, and I can give you a few more examples just so you'd see. This is, for example, something that our teachers created, underwater scene with corals and schools of fish, starfish, and a shark in the style of Roy Lichtenstein. And you can see the different efforts and very different products from each one of them. The first thing that I would say, if you're trying to bring this kind of AI or discussion of that into a regular classroom or into the art classroom, the first thing I think you need to do is discuss the ethics, because this is in some ways a discussion about who owns art, who has the right to use it or not use it. And there are interesting places and interesting discussions on the internet. There are some artists that are suing, for example, saying, you cannot use my art. I know it was out on the web and it was representing me, but it was on my website. You have no right to take it and use it to feed a model that uses artificial intelligence, and then people can go in and recreate versions of my art without me making any profit from it, or even without any permission from me. And so that discussion can create a really good entree to what does AI do from a digital citizenship perspective, and who owns, and you can have deeper discussions about art in general. You can have specific discussions about copyright and all of these things that have always been there, but this AI world opens them up to new interpretations and new challenges. So that's the first thing I would do if you're bringing it into your classrooms. In the regular classrooms, especially when dealing with other creative modes like writing, you can start the writing process with the prompt to DALL-E, and then, based on the art that was created, kids can write. And one of the things we found in a lot of my research and research of others is when kids have a piece of art that they have participated in creating, they are much more likely to create more vivid descriptions, longer texts, and more sophisticated words. So you are actually creating a more rich product on the writing side because there's a strong prompt that is visual. The second thing you can do, of course, is use it to create a representation of what's in the story. So taking some of the keywords in the story and making it create a piece of art that would go with the story, especially if you don't have a lot of time for the creation. As I said, in the art classroom, discussion of ethics, you can do a competition where you create as a class prompt together. You do not use DALL-E originally. Everybody creates their own version of art, or maybe there are a few different ones, and then we compare it to what DALL-E created in a way to see how our creative minds are very different than DALL-E's creative minds, or maybe they are very much the same. And so it's an opportunity to have real discussions about human creativity and what happens when we're trying to create these tools. We can also have a discussion about styles, so see what the original pieces, let's say in this example, Roy Lichtenstein, is an example, and then students can create their own versions of that. So it can create a prompt for really a creative swirl and really dislodge some of the students from always interested in students that do something very, very well, but then they get stuck doing just that. They know how to draw a horse, so they always draw the horse, and it's almost always the same horse. Using DALL-E to create that idea that maybe that horse can look differently and play with that prompt until they find something they like that they can then diverge from and see how do you create 4 different horses, right? Just like we have different sharks here and in different settings. So enriching their creativity based on a prompt and seeing how you can create a similar thing but with different representation. So today on the Art Teams podcast, we talked about DALL-E. Please, please, please like us, give us comments. I'm dying to know what you know and how do you use DALL-E. And I'll see you next time.